How to make at least 6 figures this year in real estate wholesaling. What is up, guys? Zach Ginn here, and in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to guarantee make at least $100,000 in the next 12 months in wholesaling real estate. And honestly, so many people complicate making your first $100,000. And yes, if you look at going from $0 to $1 million, the first $100,000 is always the hardest. But what I can tell you right now is, it's not that it's hard to know what to do. It's the action that's the hardest part. And what I'm going to give to you today is a complete action plan guide on to make your first $100,000 in wholesaling real estate for at minimum $100,000. I can tell you right now with this guide, at minimum, you should make around $250,000 per year in real estate wholesaling. But again, everyone's a little different with everything. So that's why I'm going to break down exactly my step-by-step guide today on how to get it going. So the way that I look at wholesaling real estate is kind of with like a conveyor belt system, if that makes sense. I think of things like, the Model T, or how a lot of assembly lines get done. And that's the way you should be looking at real estate wholesaling. Not real estate investing or house flipping or rentals in general, but for wholesaling real estate. And that is the bread and butter of how we make most of our money in personally me. Most of my money, the income coming from the business, comes from wholesaling real estate, and that is what I'm most passionate about, and that's where I make the most money. So let's sort of break down the exact process, the conveyor belt, right? So we got left to right? So on the left side here, we have marketing, finding people who want to sell the property for cash. A lot of that in the trenches, doing marketing, cold calling, SMS text blasting. You can do door knocking if you want, right? But at the end of the day, direct mail. So that is the marketing side of the business. Very, very important, right, guys? So when you're doing a lot of the marketing side of this business, you got to understand that that is the first part of this conveyor belt. Once you find somebody in marketing that is looking to sell the property for cash, they say yes. Then they go to the next part on the process. What is the next part after marketing? After they're done marketing, the next part on this process is actually locking up the property and putting it under contract with acquisition. So I usually go from marketing to acquisitions, and then once they lock up the deal, bring that over to the dispositions, and we have transaction coordinators on the entire process, and sort of more or less like a manager in the conveyor belt system, and then goes to dispositions, and they sell it to a cash buyer, assign it, sell the deal, the whole process in general. Very simple. The 3 conveyor belt systems: marketing, acquisitions, disposition. So that's the way I look at it. I'm very analytical when I think of things sometimes. I'm a very visual learner. So if I can look at it from like a left to right system, it works really well for me. And that's the way I really like understanding the wholesaling real estate process. And I'm very, very simplistic when I look at things to a point. Maybe because I'm stupid, I have no idea. But I like to really dumb things down, and it makes me understand things like very conceptually, even like very advanced concepts. If you can really dumb it down, and I think about it in a very simple, dumbed down way, it makes it so much easier for me. And that has helped me basically make an action plan and a guide for most people. They learn really well from that, and that's the way I would learn, so it looks really well. So what I mean by dumbing things down, making it really simple. So let's talk about making your first $100,000 per year in real estate wholesaling, right? If we really look at $100,000, what is the average assignment fee for real estate wholesaling? My average assignment fee is around $35,000. My average flip deal, 50, 60, 75,000. And yes, that is definitely on the very, very high side. I have systems. I've done over thousands of real estate wholesaling deals. I understand this entire process. If you look at the average wholesaler, and I have so many people at freewholesaling.com that get their first deal, send me the checks, first $100,000. I see the average deal they do. On average, if you really look at everything right here, their first deal, second deal, third deal, if I could really average it out, is around $10,000. Some people get $1,000 the first deal, 20. Heck, I know I was talking to Vontae the other day. He messaged me, $45,000, and he posted that on the group. What I can tell you right now, guys, is you're looking at the real estate wholesaling process right now. At the end of the day, you have to just look at the process as that conveyor belt. You get the property under contract, okay? You find a cash buyer, and you close it. Like, you market, lock it up, close it. That's the way you got to look at it. So if you look at it, the average deal I found in general is around $10,000. What are you going to do in this situation? That means at $10,000 per deal, if I do 10 deals, that is $100,000. Pretty simple, right? Very, very simple guide. So if I have figured out I have to do 10 deals a year to make $100,000, we got to reverse engineer that. So if we divide by 10 by 12, so if I do 10 deals in 12 months, that means around 83.333, like 84% chance every single month I got to do a deal. That's less than a deal per month. And now we got to do the math. Like, how are we going to do a deal per month? And do a deal per month if you want your average like assignment fee to be lower. But really, it can technically, if you really want to get in the nitty gritty, 4 deals at $25,000 each. If you really want to get like, it's really a multiple of how many deals and then your average assignment fee. So you got to figure out what to do. And this begs the question, how many calls, text blasts, marketing do I have to do? Like, what type of marketing I have to do to get that one deal? And if I figure out what that one deal is, all I have to do is multiply that by 12, and that's all I got to do for the year. So if I can, for example, like, let's kind of go over the numbers. So if you want to get one deal on a government list, which I teach at freewholesaling.com, you most likely have to do around 3,000 cold calls. What is 3,000 cold calls, right? So about 3,000 cold calls, if you really do a government list, like a code violation, fire damage property, water shut off, if you really mix them all, add some probates in there, probably 3,000 calls, pretty good average. And you can do a good amount of that using like ZachDialer.com, and that equals one deal. So if I multiply 3,000 calls in for one deal, that means I probably have to make 3,000 calls in a month. And that at the end, like really when you look at everything, really simplistically, you divide that by 25. That's how many cold calls you have to be doing in a day. So like I just do the math really quick. 3,000 divided by 25. That's 120 calls a day you have to make for 25 days. I assume you're taking the weekends off, right? 30 days, and then you take 2 days off on the weekends. Let's say 25 working days a month. It's 120 cold calls every single day you got to make. It's really simple if you really look at it like that in that perspective, and most people don't. Let me break down some other lists that work really well. So on average, I've kind of written these down. It takes about 500 probate letters to get one real estate wholesaling deal on a probate, but those assignment fees are a little higher. So it's like how many letters you got to put out for the day, right? 750 probate calls, cold calls I found to actually get you a real estate wholesaling deal. Pretty important there. So just divide that, or you can multiply, like let's say the 500 probate letters by 12. That means you got to do 6,000 probate letters a year to make 100K. 10,000 SMS text blasts for a deal usually. 500 reverse drawing for dollars sticky notes you just slap on there to get a deal. Maybe 600-700 drawing for dollars calls to get a deal. It really varies. You can do, your 10th drawing for dollar cold call could be a massive $50,000 deal. Like it's just on average, right? About 5,000 high equity cold calls. I honestly would say that's about 60,000 cold calls a year if you want to get deals doing high equity, but they're pretty big deals. All you really got to do is just divide that number of how many calls, texts, text blasts, whatever type of marketing strategy you're doing. You divide by that 25. That's how much you got to do per month. And really, simply, that is all you have to do. And that's basically the action plan guide you have to make for yourself. Now, if you really want to guarantee it, I would say most people, they underestimate what they can do to a point over the long term. And they overestimate what they can do in the short term, but underestimate what they can do in the long term. So you got to understand that to a point. So I would say if you divide how many, whatever you have, cold calls, whatever you have to do in a day, if you multiply that by 2, it is almost impossible not to make $100,000 this year in real estate wholesaling. The question is, are you willing to do that? I'm giving you the exact action plan, what you have to do. So if you really want to do this many text blasts per day and then multiply that by 2 in a month, that's all you really have to do. But most people aren't willing to do that. And that is the biggest problem I have. So let's get the HandyDandy Calculator out here, and we're really just going to break this down really simple. So if I have to do 10,000 text blasts in a month to get one deal, I divide by that 25. That's 400 texts a day. Multiply that by 2. If you're doing about 800 texts a day on a really good government list, you're going to do very well, and you will make at minimum 100K this year in real estate wholesaling if your acquisitions is decent and your dispositions is decent. Now, if you don't cold call any cash buyers, obviously you're going to fail in wholesaling, right? If you are terrible with with your sellers and you curse at them and you're mean to them and you're smug and you're like, how much do I sell the property for? I'll buy for that. You're very rough. Obviously, the results aren't going to be good. But if you're decent, if your marketing is extraordinary and your acquisitions and your dispositions is decent, you will have very, very good results. If your marketing is average and your acquisitions and dispositions is extraordinary, you will be average. Your marketing is the most important multiplier for your success in wholesaling real estate. So that's why in this video right now, I have focused really hard on the marketing side, because everyone can pretty much be average at acquisitions and dispositions. The hard part is being extraordinary in your marketing. And that's where most gurus get wrong. That's where most beginners get wrong in their wholesaling real estate. They have to act like the expert. If you generally just go out here, act like you're buying a car, you're going to be fine. We teach this all at freewholesaling.com. The last most important part too, if you really want to guarantee success in your real estate wholesaling business, most gurus don't talk about this because you can't sell a course. This is like 10 minutes in a video, and I'm sharing a $5,000 course in under 15 minutes right here. But if you spend at minimum 5 hours a week on cash buyers, that's all you really need. Like if you spend 5 hours a week on cash buyers, you will not have a problem selling your deals. So if you mix this formula in here, you figure out how much marketing it takes to get a deal. You watch freewholesaling.com, learn the acquisitions process, spend at least 5 hours with cash buyers. You're going to make at least $100,000 this year in real estate wholesaling. So guys, this is my ultimate guide to make 6 figures this year in real estate wholesaling. It is really simple. The question is, are you willing to take the action? You know exactly what you got to do right now. Are you willing to take the action right now to get success in real estate wholesaling? Or are you just not going to do it? The answer is ultimately up to you. I pray for your success. I pray you take action. And I know for a fact, if you take the action right now, make that commitment, you'll do well. Create a schedule of your marketing, stick to it, and you'll get the results. This is Zach Ginn signing out. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. Check out freewholesaling.com to learn the exact fundamental actionable steps you can take and learn exactly how to do the things I just said, and you'll be on your way to success. Thank you guys so much. Have a blessed one.